Welcome to Constellation Stories, where I record a video about the constellation we did and how the field showed the movement. I usually work with constellation in water, so I put water in this tray and the puppets, they float. They float on the water. So today my client came with a complaint about relationship, and I always ask if the person has experience with family constellation before, if she's done a family constellation, if they're familiar with the concepts. And she said that she has done many constellations over the years, of group work and individual work. And she wanted to look at relationships, and we explored. She talked about her experiences with relationship, and she talked about a few things. And okay, so one important thing to point out about this constellation is that my client has done many constellations with relationship with parents, with grandparents, with sister, with cousins, many constellations. So the field only showed what was necessary for the movement to happen. So when she talked about relationships, obviously in the back of your mind as a systemic constellator, you always think, Beth Hellinger said that patrimony, your possessions, your outside world is related to your father, and matrimony, so your relationships and everything inside, is related to the mother. Obviously, we always think something to do with the mother, okay? But we also respect what the field will show, yes? So we have these certain hints in our minds because of Bert Hellinger's explanations, some of the things that he says. When you hear this, look for that. When you hear a certain topic, keep in the back of your mind this and this. For instance, when you hear a person having relationship issues or attracting people that would cheat on them, or they are cheating on people, you always hear almost like you keep it in the back of your mind, triangulation with the parents. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind. Anyway, so there's certain types of topics of relationship in family constellation that we keep in mind. And so she told me as well that she was sexually abused by her grandfather, so her mother's father, which is, is a sexual abuse. This is a big wound. It's a big wound for female, and it's something that the child loses trust with their parents, the people that are supposed to protect them, and they weren't able to. And regardless if it happened in the home or not, the child, if you look at psychoanalysis, they say that the child loses trust in the parent. Anyway, so this is a bit relevant to mention because of how this constellation works. So I put the client, she chose this one to represent her, and I put her here. And she, right at the beginning of life, let me try and turn this a bit so you can see her. And I see that she doesn't leave the domestic sphere. She comes towards the left a bit. I'm using a front camera. This is the left, and she comes towards the left, and she stays kind of here. And we talk about this movement, and she said, this has showed up in other constellations as well. And then I bring in her ex-husband, so we talk about it. And throughout this constellation we're speaking, she's talking about him with a superiority. She's saying, oh, he's poor. He never took off. His career never took off. I always choose poor men, and yeah, he's very this and that. And she was constantly judging this man, so putting herself higher in a position in a relationship that doesn't work, because relationships are equal. You give and you take, and you're leveled. Anyway, so she's putting herself as much higher than this man. 1 second. And so I place him in the field. So when I place him in the field, she comes this way, all the way, a big movement, and she's looking at him from here. And they are looking at each other. And what I notice here is that this gentleman has never left the domestic sphere. So I tell her a little bit, did you realize that, he's kind of being stuck with his family of origin, never left the domestic sphere? And she said, yes. So he was very attached to his mom, very, close to his sibling, his sister. And yeah, so very entangled there. And so she tells me something important here is that I say, so what made you? So this was her first boyfriend, first sexual relationship, first got married to him, were together for nearly 25 years, in total. And so this man has a very important space, in her life. If you think about it, he was the first one who gave us his strength to do the movement of coming out of my domestic sphere and going into my life, even though she was looking back, but she had this strength to move. He gave that to her. As soon as he came in, she was able to move forward. And she actually realized, yes, it's true. If I hadn't got married, I would never have left my parents' house. And she would say things like that. Yeah, and I see that a lot. And anyway, but even though he has a very important station in her life, she was kind of saying really mean things about this man. And also, one important thing to mention is that she had a daughter. Well, she got pregnant, and then she had to have an abortion because there was a problem with the pregnancy, and so the daughter had to the embryo had to be taken out, and that was really traumatic for her. And she said that that's what made her leave the country, get divorced. It gave her strength to break away from all of this. So she kept saying, oh, my daughter, her name was going to be Valentina. I know she's a girl. And she gave me strength to leave, my husband and leave my country. And, so I noticed certain things. And as soon as I put the daughter comes, a bit together with the father. And then she comes and attaches herself here to the mother. And then I said to her, look at this dynamic. This is your family, regardless of if you have a relationship with this man anymore or you don't, regardless of what happened here, this is your family. And your family of origin is your parents, but this is your family. And so I said, let's look at this daughter, because she said that she hasn't really done any movements towards about including this daughter. So we go to the phrases, and she looks at the daughter and includes her. And she said something that came to me at the time, which is, my dear daughter, you sacrificed yourself for me, just like I sacrificed myself for my mother. And when she said that, the emotion came, and she was able to access this. And she said, you repeated the pattern to the daughter, and she was able to look at the daughter. And the moment she said that to her daughter, the moment she said this phrase, this man came and stood next to her. It was very emotional constellation. She was able to see her blind love for her mother, sacrificing herself, putting her, sacrificing herself for her mother, and the repeated pattern that her daughter also repeated out a blind love. And the moment that she realized this, she was finally, in her heart, married to her husband. And this is the father of her child. And in the end, the constellation was a bit like this, and give a special place, for this man who is her ex-husband, who had a very important station in her life, for he was her first boyfriend, first sexual relationship, a man that she lived with for 20 years, and she was able to finally see his grandiousness, And this was the final configuration, but yeah, and I left her to finish her emotional, let her finish her emotional, let to wash away all the pain that she was crying. And yeah, it was a very lovely constellation. Um, anyway, so we need to look at the soul. What is your soul looking at? What is your soul looking at? What needs to be included, in the family system? So it was very, very powerful.